Oh, Salem faithful. If there's one thing we've learned after decades of tuning into days of our lives, it's that death is never quite as final as it seems in this town. The DiMera family alone has turned fake deaths, secret captivities, and midnight grave robbings into an art form that would make Shakespeare himself take notes. And right now the air in Salem is thick with suspicion, heartbreak, and the kind of pulse-pounding drama that keeps us glued to our screens. Vivian Alamine has stood before the entire town, tears streaming down her perfectly made-up face, declaring her beloved son Stefan DiMera dead and gone. We've all seen that somber gravesite, the marble headstone etched with his name, flowers wilting under the relentless Salem sun. But something has never sat right with any of us who've followed this saga through every twist and betrayal. Deep down in that place where soap fans keep their wildest theories, we've always suspected Stefan is still very much alive, held captive, somewhere by the very woman who claims to mourn him most. And now, with Leo Stark and Dimitri von Leuschner hot on the trail of a truth that could shatter everything, the question burning on everyone's lips is this: do you think Leo and Dimitri will find Stefan? Let's dive deep into this unfolding mystery and find out exactly how this story is playing out on days of our lives. Let's start at the beginning, shall we? Because to truly appreciate the seismic potential of what's coming, we have to revisit that devastating day when Vivian Alamine stepped into the DiMera living room dressed in her signature black mourning ensemble, complete with a dramatic veil that only she could pull off, and announced to EJ, Kristen, Tony, and the rest of the shell-shocked family that Stefan was dead. Her voice cracked with what looked like genuine grief, but those of us who remember Vivian's history know better than to trust a single tear from that woman. This is the same Vivian who once faked her own death, poisoned half the town, and schemed her way back into the DiMera fortune with a smile, sharper than a stiletto. She spoke of a tragic accident, a body too damaged to view, and a private burial to spare the family further pain. The funeral was a masterclass in soap opera theatrics, rain pouring. Down on the cemetery, black umbrellas blooming like dark flowers, and Vivian clutching a single red rose as she dropped it onto the casket. We watched that casket lower into the ground. We heard the dirt hit the lid, and yet the camera lingered just a second too long on Vivian's face as she turned away. That tiny, almost imperceptible smirk. Fans have been dissecting that moment for weeks in online forums, replaying the scene frame by frame. Because if anyone could orchestrate a kidnapping disguised as a death, it's Vivian Alamine. Stefan wasn't just her son. He was her ticket to power, her weapon in the endless DiMera civil war. Why kill off your greatest asset when you can hide him away, brainwash him, or use him as leverage against the very family members who've always stood in her way? And that grave, oh, that grave has become the stuff of legend already. We've seen it in countless episodes, the perfectly manicured plot on the edge of the Salem cemetery, surrounded by DiMera ancestors who've all had their own brushes with death. But here's where things get deliciously suspicious. Just last week, sharp-eyed viewers caught something that sent the rumor mill into overdrive. A shadowy figure, hooded gloved, moving with the stealth of someone who knows every inch of that graveyard slipped through the fog at midnight. Shovel in hand, the mysterious gravedigger began turning over the earth where Stefan's final resting place should be. The soil was fresh, the headstone slightly askew. Was it Vivian herself, checking on her secret, or someone else who knows the truth and is desperate to expose it? The camera cut away before we could see what was or wasn't inside that coffin, leaving us all screaming at our TVs. This isn't just a random act of vandalism. In Salem, nothing happens by accident. That gravedigger is a clue, a breadcrumb in a trail that's about to lead Leo and Dimitri straight into the heart of the darkness. And if Stefan's coffin turns out to be empty, well, buckle up, because the explosion that follows will rock the DiMera Empire to its foundations. Now, let's talk about the accusations that have turned this whole nightmare into a high-stakes manhunt. Vivian and her unlikely ally Gwen Rizkek have been pointing fingers with the precision of laser-guided missiles, and the target is none other than Dimitri von Leuschner. They claim he's behind a string of kidnappings targeting key DiMera family member Stefan being the most prominent, but whispers suggest others have gone missing too. Gwen, still nursing wounds from her tumultuous past with Leo, has taken to the witness stand, both literal and figurative, with tearful testimonies about how Dimitri used her, manipulated her, and then vanished with members of the family she once hoped to join. Vivian, of course, backs every word with her own dramatic flair, producing evidence that looks suspiciously convenient. A forged, I note here, a blurry security photo there. But anyone who's followed Days of Our Lives knows Dimitri's story is far more complicated than the villainous portrait they're painting. This is the man who arrived in Salem with a mysterious European pedigree, a fortune tied to the von Lochner name, and a heart that somehow found its way to the most unlikely person. In town, Leo Stark. Their romance has been a whirlwind of passion, deception, and genuine connection, the kind that soap operas do best. Dimitri isn't a kidnapper. He's a man fighting for his life and his love, framed by two women who have every reason to want him out of the picture so they can seize control of the DiMera boardroom and the family legacy. Enter Leo Stark, the heart and soul of this budding detective duo. Leo, with his quick wit, his impeccable fashion sense even in the middle of a crisis, and his unshakable loyalty to Dimitri, has refused to let these accusations stand. We've watched him pace the DiMera guest house, ranting about Vivian's Oscar-worthy performance and Gwen's convenient amnesia about her own shady past. But Leo isn't just talking, he's acting, together with Dimitri. He's been piecing together a trail that started with a single, overlooked detail, a mysterious phone call Stefan made the night before his death, a call that pinged off a tower nowhere near the accident scene. From there, the clues have snowballed. A discarded hospital bracelet found in a dumpster behind the DiMera mansion, a cryptic text message from an unknown burner phone, and now that midnight gravedigger caught on a grainy security cam. Leo and Dimitri's partnership isn't just romantic, it's a masterclass in teamwork under fire. We've seen them argue in hushed tones in dimly lit motel rooms, share stolen kisses amid the danger, and push each other to keep going when the trail goes cold. Dimitri's accent thickens with emotion as he vows to clear his name, while Leo cracks jokes to hide the fear that this could all end in tragedy. Their love story has always been the beating heart of their arc, but now it's fueling a quest that could either redeem them both or destroy everything they've built. As Dimitri and Leo follow that trail deeper into the shadows, the drama ratchets up with every episode. Picture this last Tuesday's cliffhanger had them breaking into an abandoned warehouse on the outskirts of Salem, flashlights cutting through dust motes thick as secrets. The air smelled of rust and regret. Leo's hand trembled as he picked the lock gears of con artist skills, finally put to good use for something noble. Inside, they found chains bolted to the wall, a cot with rumpled sheets that still carried the faint scent of Stefan's cologne, and a half-eaten meal that looked fresh. Someone had been held there recently, but before they could process the horror, footsteps echoed from the corridor. Was it Vivian's hired muscle, or worse, the gravedigger returning to finish the job? The tension was unbearable, the kind that makes you hold your breath until the commercial break. And that's just one scene. In the weeks leading up to this, we've watched them chase leads from the Salem Pier to a private jet hangar, confronting shady informants who spill just enough information to keep the chase alive. Each close call brings them closer together and closer to the truth. Dimitri's past, his own brushes with family betrayal, and forced alliances gives him an edge in understanding how Vivian thinks. Leo's street smarts and emotional intelligence fill in the gaps. Together, they're unstoppable. But the stakes couldn't be higher. If they're wrong, Dimitri faces prison time for crimes he didn't commit. If they're right, well, exposing Vivian could tear the entire DiMera family apart, forcing alliances to shift and old enemies to become unlikely. Friends, the recent Gravedigger incident is the puzzle piece that ties it all together. Who was that hooded figure? And why risk everything to disturb Stefan's grave now? Of all times, theories are flying faster than a DiMera boardroom coup. Some fans believe it was Vivian herself, panicking because Stefan was starting to remember his captivity and trying to escape. Others point to a third party, perhaps EJ, tired of playing second fiddle, or even Kristen, whose own complicated history with Stefan makes her a wild card. The act of digging up the grave suggests desperation. If Stefan's body isn't there, it proves he's alive. If it is there but altered in some way, maybe a planted clue or evidence of foul play, then the whole narrative changes. Leo and Dimitri are closing in on that exact spot. In upcoming episodes, we could see them arriving at the cemetery under cover of darkness, hearts pounding, only to find fresh dirt and a single clue left behind, a locket belonging to Vivian. Or perhaps a note in Stefan's handwriting begging for help. The visual alone, the two men standing over the open grave, moonlight illuminating their shocked faces, will be Emmy-worthy. Television. It's the moment where suspicion turns to certainty, where the search becomes a rescue mission. What happens if they do find Stefan O? The possibilities are endless, and every one of them drips with the delicious drama we crave from Days of Our Lives. Imagine Stefan emerging from captivity, gaunt, bearded, eyes wild with the trauma of months in isolation. He's been held in a secret basement beneath one of Vivian's old properties, perhaps drugged with a DiMera special formula designed to erase memories and bend wills. His first words upon rescue, a raspy accusation aimed straight at his mother. "You did this to me, for power." The reunion with his wife Gabby would be pure fireworks tears, embraces, and the inevitable questions about where their marriage stands after such betrayal. Meanwhile, Dimitri's name would be cleared in spectacular fashion, perhaps during an explosive courtroom scene where Leo takes the stand and delivers a monologue for the ages about love, truth, and fighting for the man he believes in. Gwen and Vivian would face their reckoning, arrests, public humiliation, and the loss of everything they schemed to gain. But Days of Our Lives never lets a victory stay simple. There would be fallout, Stefan's anger at the family for believing he was dead, Dimitri's lingering doubts about whether Leo truly trusts him, and new threats rising from the ashes. Maybe Vivian escapes custody with one final twist. Or perhaps Stefan returns, changed darker, ready to claim the DiMera throne with a vengeance that makes his old self look tame. Let's not forget how this ripples through the rest of Salem. E.J. DiMera, ever the calculating CEO, would have to confront his role in accepting Stefan's death. So quickly did he secretly benefit from his brother's absence. Kristen's complicated feelings for Stefan could resurface, adding layers of jealousy and regret to an already tangled web. Even characters on the periphery, like Brady and Chloe, might get pulled in if the kidnappings extend beyond the DiMeras. And Leo, his growth arc has been one of the most satisfying in recent years, from schemer to hero, and finding Stefan could cement him as Salem's unlikely savior. The emotional payoff would be immense. Leo and Dimitri celebrating their victory with a quiet moment on the DiMera rooftop, overlooking the town that tried to tear them apart. It's the kind of payoff that keeps longtime viewers coming back, episode after episode, year after year. Of course, as experienced as we are with this show, we know nothing is guaranteed. Days of Our Lives writers love to dangle hope, only to yank it away at the last second. What if the trail leads to a dead end, and Dimitri ends up taking the fall anyway? What if Stefan is alive, but chooses to stay hidden, plotting his own revenge? What if the gravedigger was actually protecting a different secret altogether, one that implicates Leo's past in ways that threaten his relationship with Dimitri? The beauty of this storyline is its unpredictability. Every clue, every stolen glance between Leo and Dimitri, every ominous close-up of Vivian's face builds the tension until it feels like the whole town is holding its breath. Fans across social media are already buzzing with theories. Some swear the gravedigger is actually Stefan himself, clawing his way out in a classic soap resurrection. Others insist it's a red herring designed to throw Leo and Dimitri off the real captive location, a yacht off the coast, or a remote cabin in the woods. Whatever the truth, one thing is certain: this storyline has injected fresh energy into the DiMera legacy, reminding us why we fell in love with Days of Our Lives in the first place. The family feuds, the forbidden romances, the life and death stakes, all of it wrapped in that signature, over-the-top glamour. So after all this build-up, the big question remains: do you think Leo and Dimitri will find Stefan? Will they discover the reason why that gravedigger disturbed the grave and finally expose Vivian's web of lies? Or is there an even darker twist waiting in the wings, one that could change Salem? forever. We've seen Stefan declared dead before, only for him to rise like a phoenix. We've watched Dimitri fight for redemption, while Leo stands by his side through every storm. And we've learned never to underestimate the lengths Vivian will go to keep her secrets buried. Let's find out together as this story unfolds on Days of Our Lives. Because in Salem, the truth always comes out usually right before a commercial break, with a gasp-inducing cliffhanger that leaves us counting the hours. Until the next episode, grab your popcorn, dear viewers. The graveyard is about to give up its ghosts, and when it does, nothing in Salem will ever be the same again.